What's up, Stop Sinking family? Welcome back to the show. It's your friend T talking to you about, as always, how we can heal what matters to grow what matters. We're here to go from struggle to flow in our life, our business, and our relationships. Today, on show number 6, I'd like to ask you a couple questions. How much do you like yourself? Do you act like you like yourself? How do you get yourself to do things? And how do you react when those things aren't done to your expectation? Are you a good boss when you're a bad employee? Or are you a bad boss? Would you really want to work for you? Do you treat yourself as nicely as you treat your loved ones? If other people thought about you the way that you think about yourself, would you be friends with them? And a lot of times we also attribute thoughts to other people. When we're walking around and we walk through a room, we attribute thoughts to other people. Negative thoughts, negative things that we think they might think of us, which is really our own inner dialogue and our own voice of self-contempt. Would you really, really accept those thoughts from those people if they actually held them? Would those people really matter at all if they really thought the way that the projected thoughts that you put on them appear? Would you accept that from them? Why do you accept it from yourself? So what am I talking about? Why am I talking about this today? Why is this important? Why am I ultimately asking you to be nice to yourself? Why am I asking you to audit your thoughts? And why am I really asking you how nice you are? What is your relationship with yourself really like? And what happens when the things you demand of yourself don't go the way you envisioned? What kind of relationship do you end up having after that? And not to be cliche, but we all know the most important relationship we have is with ourselves. And through it, every relationship is just a mirror. So now, in the fashion that I like to speak and think of the world in practical, actionable, in an actionable realm, many of us are trying to get ourselves to perform in roles that we have signed us up for. So why is it important for you to be nice to yourself? And why is that relationship with yourself important? Because actionably and practically it shows up when you are asking the person, you, yourself, asking yourself to do something. How that relationship is depends on whether that thing actually gets done or not. If you're pursuing some sort of goal or some sort of aim, and you might find it hard to understand at first why you're not as far along as you should be in this goal, or what you should do and how you can move faster, or what you're doing wrong. When you look at these goals and you measure yourself on a daily basis and they aren't where you hope that they would be, what do you think of yourself from that lesser than envisioned state of yourself? When you are actually honest and measure yourself and you aren't everything that you hoped you would be at this exact moment, what words are you using to speak to yourself? How do you deal with that? Does it turn into resentment? Are you speaking badly? Does that initial failure, or what you are considering the gap between who you want to be and who you are still being present, that initial failure, does it have a compounding effect on your negative self-image? And undoubtedly, without tools and knowing how to break that pattern to think higher of yourself, you're stuck in that loop where that relationship with yourself constantly gets worse because you see yourself not show up for the things that you assign for yourself. and you see yourself not show up and be the exact magnitude that you imagine yourself to be. So then you diminish yourself even more and you treat yourself badly. And that also shows up in all of our other relationships too. So we have to nurture ourselves. And we need nurturing. Earlier in life, we relied on nurturing from other people. People sang to us, fed us. They were our cheerleaders. They did everything that we needed for our environment to be healthy and support our upbringing. We need nurturing. We need an environment of nurturing. And as we get older, we no longer can rely on other people. We have to rely on being able to nurture ourselves. And under all the worldly roles and titles, there is a fragile being who needs nurturing. A child who still needs the care he didn't get, and he still seeks it. And self-care isn't taught in schools. We don't have the tools to self-nurture, but we crave it. And not only do we crave it, we need it for our upbringing. We need it for our own rearing of ourselves, for that inner child that continues to want and continues to seek growth. That inner child requires nurturing. The root of a lot of that was inspired by my meditation yesterday, the nurturing of yourself, and how earlier in our life we were nurtured by other people. But we can't look outside of ourselves for it. We have to look inside. Our words that we use to ourselves matter. What you say and how you say it to yourself means a lot. You can be taking away your own power just casually through these weakened words that you use. You could be adding self-limiting beliefs that you picked up from societal programming, cultural norms, such as, when you're hard on yourself, the world goes easy on you. I lived by that one for a long time. This tough love. When you're hard on yourself, the world goes easy on you. Why should I not talk to myself? Why should I be nice to myself? I have to push myself to do everything. This hustle mentality. Everything has to be difficult. Everything is hard earned. Everything must go through the grinder. You must be willing to face fire. And these are not necessarily the ways that life has to go. If you accept ease, you can acquire through ease. If you want your story to be these self-limiting beliefs and that you must achieve success through the sleepless nights and the grinder and the blood, sweat, and tears and the relentless pursuit and the failure and the bankruptcies and the living in your car and if you want that to be your story, you will attract it. But you can have a different one because there are people out there that have different ones. I'm not saying you'll ever skip the hard work required to do work, to succeed. What I'm saying is that it is a limiting belief that you must be hard on yourself to be able to press upon your potential. If your goal is to actually live a meaningful life and one in which you can actually rely on yourself, sustainably rely on yourself to get things done and to play an active role on a daily basis for things that you want done, it must happen from the root of compassion. Compassion, not compulsion. You cannot compel greatness. You can only create an environment in which it blooms. So treat yourself like you're someone you're responsible for helping. Treat yourself like you will create the environment for yourself in which greatness will bloom. Treat yourself like you like yourself. And Jordan Peterson dedicates a whole chapter titled Treat Yourself Like You Are Someone You Are Responsible for Helping. And in it, he talks about something I couldn't help but bring up in this podcast. Because when I started thinking about when I wasn't nice to myself, and this is a very, very recent thing when I started applying niceness to myself as a way to get things done. One of the stories that stuck out to me that I have to talk about here as a example of how not nice we really are to ourselves, and how under that environment you are taking away all chances to your own survival. So in this chapter, he talks about how people are more likely to feed their dogs and their pets the full dose of medicine, but not themselves. And he gives an example of how out of 100 people, 1/3 won't fill the prescription. And half of the 67% that's left won't take the medication correctly. They'll either miss doses, they'll quit taking it early, or just not take it at all. Even patients who have waited long for serious surgeries like lung transplants or kidney transplants that actually face the possibility of their body rejecting the organ, in which you have to take medicine to simmer that symptom, that effect of that rejection in your body, and help your body not reject it as much. Even in such a dire circumstance, after having waited, you can imagine how long it takes to get an organ on that list. Even having waited, many people fail to take care of themselves and take their medicine and experience symptoms of rejection, an organ rejection in their body, because they fail to just love themselves and take care of themselves like they would a pet. People are better at properly administering prescriptions to their pets, to their dogs, to their cats. Which is not good, because your pet loves you. And he would probably be happier if you took your meds. So it's difficult to conclude from this, he says. It's difficult to conclude anything from this that other than that people love their pets more than themselves. And why is that? It's because you know all the vile things about yourself, so you don't let yourself get away with anything. You treat yourself worse than the way you love and treat anyone else. He says we have generalizations about others' human nature. Nothing specific, but you know so much about yourself. You're bad enough as other people know you, but only you know the full range of your secret transgressions, your insufficiencies, your inadequacies. No one is more familiar than you with all the ways your mind and body are flawed. No one has more a reason to hold you in contempt, to see you as pathetic. And by withholding something that might be good for you, like your medicine, you can punish yourself for all of your failings. Of course, a dog, a harmless, innocent, unself-conscious dog, is clearly more deserving than this pathetic creature who I hold contempt for, myself, who I speak so badly to, myself, because I know him so intimately, myself. So you must treat yourself like you like yourself. Ask yourself nicely to get things done. He gives suggestions. Imagine that you are someone with whom you must negotiate. Imagine further that you are lazy, touchy, resentful, and hard to get along with. You're probably not going to be easy to motivate or move. This is us on a daily basis asking ourselves to do things, and we must negotiate. You might even use a little bit of charm and playfulness. Excuse me, with irony or sarcasm. I'm trying to reduce some unnecessary suffering around here. I could use some help in asking yourself in a funny way. I could use some help myself. There's a lot of suffering around here. The bed is not made. Everything is unkempt. There's a lot of things that we need to get done that we've been putting off. There's a lot of things that you want for yourself that you've been putting off. Maybe I would love it if you could play a part. It's okay if you don't want to, but there's a lot of things around here that would help both of us if we could just work on them together to make them better. And I'd be grateful for your service. And just ask honestly and with humility. Or maybe you need more negotiating because you don't trust yourself. Maybe you think, oh, if he asks me for one thing and I do it, he's going to just demand more things. And then if I don't do that, he's just going to be really, really hurtful to me. So what's the point? Just doing one thing never satisfies him. So I might as well not even do that one thing, because once I do that one thing, he's going to expect the next thing from me. Who would want to work for somebody like that? You're not just a bad employee that doesn't do those things. You're also a bad boss. So you must offer yourself rewards for doing little things and then keep that promise. Hey, if you help me with this thing, we can go and get some ice cream, or we can take the next hour off and not do anything, or we can do something we really, really like, or we can eat that thing that we like, or nothing that you rely on too much, because anything too much is a bad thing. But offer yourself a reward to build back that trust, but actually do it. Don't skip it. Don't move on to the next thing or try to do the next thing, because then that part of you that you finally got to do that one thing will just retreat back into the abyss. It will just run away from you and not show up the next time you call on it to do the thing that one time just to help you. You have to help it not suffer by giving it rewards. And then it will help you not suffer by showing up and playing a part in all the things that you need to do. You need to negotiate with yourself. And even in Power of Habits, they talk about the way to break a habit and to form a new one is to use this loop called the cue, routine, reward, where you use a cue, something that triggers what would have been an old response, to now a new response where you program a different routine and then you reward yourself to reinforce that response. So then that cue next time seeks that reward and then plays that same routine instead of the other routine that you had programmed in you that was a bad habit. So the way to build habits and a way to overcome bad habits is to actually reward yourself to then start this never-ending loop that reinforces the cue and the new routine. Again, in being nice to yourself and offering yourself a reward at the end of showing up for you, you reinforce that beautiful behavior to happen again. And all you have to do is make incremental progress. Just make and keep small promises to yourself. The more you see yourself doing even the smallest things, like making the bed or waking up at a certain time or just clearing your plate after you eat or anything that you're trying to see different in your life, the better you feel about actually showing up for even those smallest things, the more you are likely to sign up for the next thing. And the image you hold of yourself in your belief of yourself will be one of that, a person that will get things done. You will attribute a higher level of adequacy to yourself. You will attribute a higher level of belief when you look to yourself and say, oh, this is a thing that can get done. This is a thing that can improve my life. Should I even take this on? Or am I just going to disappoint myself again if I even bother? So why even bother? I know myself. I'm just going to disappoint myself. And to break that pattern, you keep little small promises that have nothing to do with that large thing that you're disappointed with yourself on. And that gives you this compounding effect that helps you in the larger thing that you want to sign up for. And then instead of that voice saying, oh no, I'm just going to disappoint myself, the voice will be, no, I think I'll do it this time. I've been doing these things, and I kind of made time for it last time, and somehow it got done, and I have a feeling I'll figure it out. And that when that shift happens because of those small voices, the small promises that you kept to yourself, when that voice changes because of the small promises you kept to yourself, then the bigger promises you make to yourself seem in your grasp. And you are more likely to make them. And you are more likely to live up to them. And that compounds into even bigger promises and bigger worlds that your promises can lead you to. So a lot of that is managing self-talk. And we do that through our actions and consistency. We do that through first becoming aware of our self-talk, becoming aware through meditation, through journaling, through rumination, just having space from our thoughts, from the mirage of our thoughts, just giving ourselves distance, that we are not our thoughts, the room to breathe, that we can always return home where it's safe to ourselves, the one that is always there. We manage self-talk through giving ourselves more credit, more empathy, more patience, more forgiveness for all those past mistakes when we are aware that they are coming up and continually judging ourselves. We accept that life is fluid and that all future endeavors will come and go, and that we may show up for them some days, and the other days we shouldn't judge ourselves for the day before where we couldn't perform. Because as long as we're committed, it doesn't matter what that one day did and how much I accomplished on that one day. It's all about my ability to look at myself and say, hey, self, I love you. It's okay you didn't show up today. It's all right. I get it. As long as it's not fear or doubts or, something that you're running away from, it's okay if today you wanted to take a day off. I should have been recorded this podcast yesterday. And in applying the topic to myself, at first I beat myself up. At first I did the exact same thing. And I said, no, I told myself on this day at this time I should be recording. And I didn't. And I beat myself up at first. And then I remembered I need to be kind to myself. And it's not because of fear and doubts that I'm not doing it. It's because I actually need the space today. So my self-talk, once I recognized it, allowed me to curb it and give myself the space because I like myself. And I want to be kind to myself. And instead of demanding things for myself, I realized that I must coerce, persuade greatness, the same way you do with all other humans. Now, I will add a word of caution. The whole goal of this is not that we go the polar opposite, the other extreme, be so nice to ourselves, because this is, I think, a bigger danger where we coddle ourselves and we are almost too protective and try to build and protect ourselves from too many things. So it's not, as long as it's not fear and we're not running away from pain, the goal isn't to excuse ourselves out of things. You are the sum total of all the excuses you let yourself get away with. So when you quit faster than you should, you let your future self down. You weaken the load that your future self can bear. When you quit before that one last push-up, you let your future self down because maybe in the future, next week, he could have handled 3 more and you gave up on yourself early. So the goal isn't to run away from pain. We need pain. Pain tells us everything about everything we need to know about which direction we need to head. But the goal isn't to sign up for it either and be spiteful for yourself for discomfort's sake, just because you need to be discomfortable to learn or to understand something or to move forward or to progress. And in a way, coddling yourself isn't actually being nice to yourself, because there will always be this dissonance in your body that knows that you could have handled more, but you're not pushing yourself. And your body will have this dull ache inside of you that will keep you restless and require you to drown that restlessness through drugs or distraction. So the goal isn't that you coddle yourself and become really, really overly protective of yourself. But the goal is that you have to speak to yourself and encourage yourself and persuade yourself and nurture yourself and give yourself an environment in which you actually want to do things, as opposed to feeling like you have to do things. And my lack of feeling like I have to do things actually got me to do more. In treating myself nicely, it led to more getting done and me being able to rely on myself more. And when I don't feel like doing something, because I trust myself in it getting done, I know it will get done the next day or the next time I plan for it. And as long as it's not through fear or doubt, I no longer push myself. And that lack of pushing myself and allowing myself the space and the forgiveness that it's not this bad pattern I'm now starting. It's okay that I need to take a day off as a human. I no longer judge myself in this harsh way. And now everything feels like it's something I want to do. It's like waking up for something on time or doing something specific for work. If it doesn't get done that day, I don't beat myself up. If it doesn't happen or I procrastinate, I show up the next day like it's my first day without the weight of that disappointment. Because I love myself and I want you guys to experience the world, the consistency, the reliance, the beauty, the creativity that comes from that freedom, that space, that lack of judgment, that kindness that you show to yourself, that nurturing that your child inside of you requires. And when you start doing that, it's no longer difficult. Things come through ease. And even if they are difficult, they feel easy because you are easy with yourself. Guys, I love you. There is plenty of scrutiny, judgment, harshness, impatience out there in the world because everyone is dealing with themselves. So in dealing with yourself, you must give yourself everything that you need for that greatness to be given the environment that it deserves to bloom. And that starts with self-love. I love you guys. I have all the love inside of me to give you for you. And a lot of times I lack it for myself. And I'm just here to give a humble reminder that the love that we give to all of our loved ones, that same love, that same passion, that same dedication and loyalty, we deserve it on a daily basis. Every time you look in the mirror, be kind to yourself. Treat yourself like you are beautiful. Recognize that you are someone's child. Recognize that you are someone's world. And give yourself that same love that they will give you. Love you guys. I will see you in the next one. Please remember, if you can, if you got something out of this, to leave a comment, and please share this with at least one person. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next one. God bless.